What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Creatively Driven Podcast. My name is Josh McKenzie. In this podcast, we talk about anything that inspires us creatively, be that through art, photography, video, music. The world is your oyster when it comes to creative outlets, I feel. And today we're going to talk about how nature inspires our creative workflow. This could be a range of different things. To me, I think of being outside, shooting, going to different areas that are inspiring to us. Um, when if you're inside, I feel that you being a controlled environment, it's kind of stale. You are gonna have, controlled lighting. You're usually gonna be in there for a desired outcome. I feel that you're mainly focused on, like I said, the desired outcome. You're going to have something in mind, a specific look, and being it's controlled, you're going to be able to shape the light that much better, which obviously, through the eyes of a photographer, is going to be great for what you're specifically trying to achieve. If you are outside, you have some fixed boundaries, whether that's weather, light, terrain, like distance from a subject. Um, I think that those things are obviously elements that are going to push you to try and perform to your best with different scenarios. It's nice to have the option to kind of see things through open eyes. As ironic as that sounds, you're not confined to what you're trying to create. I think if you are out and about walking around, it's easier to be inspired because you don't have something specific you want to create. Sometimes you may have a direction you want to go on. Um, Mentally, I kind of think about, say, like a product photographer, say they are outside. I've had this idea to do some hiking boots actually. I've had like this image in my head. I know what it looks like. I've kind of looked around for some different things that kind of emulate it, and it hasn't really happened. So, all things considered, that should really be a challenge to myself to create like a spec ad. And that's something that is going to help, obviously, if you want to work with brands, but I digress. Um, so I've had this idea of like a hiking boot kind of thing. And if you have kind of what you're hoping for and what you're hoping to achieve for lighting, um, that's going to play the biggest part, and terrain as well. I'm no Photoshop expert by any means. It's been a long time. The extent of my things is like object removal, but even Lightroom has that now. The other thing is just being able to blend images to for me with cars, it was mainly just taking out reflections from different layers with a polarizing filter. um, but yeah, haven't been one to really Photoshop things in or just do compositions so much. um, but yeah, if that's your thing, you could easily do something like that. um, with nature, it can disrupt the mental hamster wheel. With indoor creativity, it's kind of a trap. Like you've got the same environment, the same thoughts, same output. You're going to be stuck in a room with certain things in front of you that have been there the whole time that you've been in the room. Um, and if it's a familiar place, a familiar room, it's probably going to be things that you've seen all the time. Like if I were to be in this room, um, recently I did again, kind of a product photography thing. On my Instagram, on McMedia Visual Productions, you will see I did an F1 car. There is a Maisto Tech model. It's a McLaren F1 car off of Lando Norris, and it's a 1/10 scale, and it was probably about this big. It was a decent size, and like I put a sheet on this, and I just was really inspired by how detailed this 1/10 scale RC car looked, and I had to do it justice. It looked almost convincing enough, again, for me to pick this up. Um, and I love how they came out, honestly. And I put it on my Instagram, and I was honestly kind of blown away at the amount of people that Questioned if I actually had like access to F1, which I do not. But McLaren, Lando Norris, if you see this, would love to work with you guys. Anyways, um, yeah, so like in a studio environment, obviously that is going to be good for what your desired outcome is. But otherwise, if you're just like in a room full of props, they're just tools that are there to help you do a specific thing. To be inspired by those, it's probably going to take a little more creativity, sorry, a little more work and a little more intention on what you want to get out of things. Um, Another thing I was looking at is nature's rhythm forces productivity. If you have a full day wide open, um, you can easily kind of schedule it based around nature's rhythms. Say if you want to kind of plan things out, you could start things off at sunrise. You could be writing or scripting something that you are planning, something that you want to see. Golden hour, you could easily be shooting. Again, depending on the look that you want. Sometimes some people want that midday. Um, Harsh lighting is definitely is something to get accustomed to. Um, I really find I've been trying to push myself a little bit more with some things for harsh lighting, just to kind of play with the contrast of hard light versus shadows. With the, like, say, the lines of a car or even just like lines of a tree, just different perspectives are really going to show emphasis on that light versus dark, and that character can really bring out like a lot of a story in an image. And I think that that's something really cool to be able to do and to try and overcome that harsh natural environment that like I've had to do a couple shoots at noon like for cars, and it's difficult because it's just everything is not blown out, but it's harsh lighting. So you've really got to be creative. And I think framing and having different objects around your subject is going to be a big game changer, and it's going to help you. And the last part of it would just be nighttime, like after you're already done shooting. That could be your time for editing or planning for something else. Um, Having said that, I know not a lot of us just have a designated free day for shooting and planning, etc. But in a perfect world, obviously there are things that we could do to make things easier for us creatively. Um, and the last thing I was thinking of is nature's aesthetics. They give you a visual library, like naturally. You've got leading lines. You can frame things up easily. Like I did the Northern Lights on my last episode. Um, I framed it up with like a bit of a leading line with just the way a power line was. Um, and again, this is not like a picturesque thing apart from the Northern Lights, but otherwise it's just a farmer's field. But leading lines are definitely going to help tie things in. They're going to draw the eye into what you framed up, and that really does help. A frame within a frame. I really love this one shot I took at Formula Drift was um, Steph Papadakis, who is the engine builder for like Ryan Turk, Frederick Osbo. He's like the Rockstar Energy engine builder, and this guy is a monster of a mechanic, and he knows engines like inside and out. He could probably literally build an engine with his eyes closed. I would probably put money on that, honestly. Um, but yeah, I have this picture of him in the passenger seat, kind of doing like a bit of a tuning thing, I believe, with a computer, and I was shooting through a wheel looking at him, so it was a frame within a frame. Little things like that, I think, are really you really do have to push yourself creatively. And my buddy Travis was actually the one that kind of inspired that. I did like the first day photos. I sent them to him just because I was stoked, right? And we share work occasionally. And he's like, man, like these are awesome. He's just like, but I've got the bar set high for you. Like, you're in this position where there's a lot of different things that you could do. And he's just like, I'm pumped, but I have high expectations for you. So it was cool to be pushed. And again, just being creative, like just using elements around your environment that you're not normally in. I wasn't confined by anything. I was surrounded by sun and palm trees. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. But anyways, complementary colors. It makes me think of fall, because you got, like, a bit of green grass, a bit of brown, and even that, like, say, sky versus grass, blue and green. They're different colors that are going to help make you branch out a little bit. And me, I like a punchy photo. I really do appreciate a bit of a vibrant and slightly saturated look to my photos. I think it really, I don't know what it is about the emphasis of colors to me. Maybe it's just, I like vibrance, It's something that some photos I've seen that are a little bit more muted. I think it could be, it can play off of your subject really well, and it could kind of bring things in better. But yeah, to me, like, my heart just longs for a nice punchy image, whether that's through photography or video. Um, Patterns and textures. I do like trying to focus on, it makes me think of like a bit of a macro perspective, where just a shallow depth of field, you're up close to something and you can kind of see the patterns and you can see the textures, but otherwise everything around it is kind of crushed. It's out of focus, or bokeh, as us photographers and video people know it as. Um, I think you can really do a lot with that, and textures are a really, really great way to tie a image in a storytelling aspect. I think even just age, the age, and you see like a bit of the wear of some items. It really does tell a lot, and it makes me want to do more macro stuff. I've never actually had or rented a macro lens, but I would love to. I've seen some phenomenal macro shots, especially like insects, stuff like that. It's super crazy because it's so beyond our scale. It's so small that we, with the human eyes, it's so hard for us to see that. But to see just the way that another creature is and all the detail that they have on them, it's crazy. Anyways, I digress again. Um, I find your eyes are going to sharpen naturally and automatically just by being immersed around a natural outside environment. It's easy for me to naturally put my mind in the mountains, because there are so many like textures, colors, just the very grand images of, the mountains. They are so massive, and there's just a lot to them, and it's really hard to try and describe the scale of how small we truly are in the big picture. Um, if you've ever been to the mountains at all, the only ones I have experiences with are the Rockies here in Alberta and BC. Um, but you do feel so small, and there's very few things that can actually depict that scale. So to be able to just be walking around and kind of framing things up differently to kind of evoke that sense of how small we are, I think is really something that it comes so effortlessly when you're just in an area like that. And it doesn't have to be something incredible. Honestly, you can be walking, um, in my area that I live in. There's a lot of trails, and again, with like leading lines and just, leaves and playing off of different environments. I think it's not hard to actually tie things into a natural day out shooting. And I recommend anybody to just get out there and take your camera and just get out and walk around and let your creative juices flow, and let, your camera just do the talking. You use your eyes and you see something, you do that. And you can obviously add some different filters and whatnot. I don't mean like Instagram filters that changes the entire thing, but I think of like gradient filters of drawing your eye into things. You can easily kind of enhance things the way that you see it in your mind. Um, it can really bring out a lot of the mood and a lot of the contrast that a photo really does help tell a story. So yeah, with that all said, these are just some things that kind of came across my head. If you can think of something else that nature inspires you, or how your creative workflow, whichever that may be, even for music, being outside and being around something like that can kind of kick back some memories or just bring you back to a comfort zone where um, you may be inspired. And again, like kind of thinking of music and whatnot, there are so many different songs of different eras that really tie themselves to specific places that you've been, or from myself anyways. So things like that, like if you have some kind of experience like that that kind of speaks to you, please let me know in the comments. I'd be really happy to hear it, and I will be super curious to know uh, how everybody else thinks. Like I'm obviously the voice behind this podcast, but it's nice to be able to hear how other people are actually perceiving things, or what their mind is thinking when they come across a certain situation. So, anyways, thank you again for following along and listening. And feel free to subscribe for more creative fuel for any of your inspiring creative outlets. Um, yeah, thank you guys so much, and have a good day. And we'll see you in the next one.